I need y'all to know that before we get into this at all, Audra is trying to get on me for being late, and she needs to understand that the fact that I am here at all is a win, okay? Like, 1 minute, please. Please, you don't understand how late I could be. I have slept through entire events that were important to my life development before. Please do not test my own timeness. Time is a concept that is completely made up. It is a social construct, and I don't have to adhere to it if I don't want to. I'm just throwing that out there. Anywho.
Okay, you keep believing that.
Anywho.
And I only know what ATLA is because that's how my son referred to it. Because otherwise, I would not know what the hell you were talking about.
PG-13.
I'm like, is it Atlas then? Did you leave the S off of Atlas? What are we doing here?
Hello, and welcome to everyone who is watching the Written Melanin channel. Wherever this day may have found you, I'm so glad that you are here. My name is Chelsea, and I write books about Black girls who aren't all that nice, and I'm here with the one, the only, the amazing Audra Russell, and we are here to
get to be amazing? Okay, good.
She's got questionable taste on a couple of things, but I still love her, and we're here to bring some melanin to your pages. And as you can see, this conversation has been ongoing since yesterday, because if you missed my live sprints yesterday, my writing sprints yesterday, all you need to know is that during that first sprint, I got on, I was like, I'm gonna be productive, I'm gonna get some stuff done, I'm gonna write this book. And here comes Audra in my DMs talking about, do you know who Uncle Iroh is? It was supposed to be an innocuous question. It was supposed to be real chill, real simple. But then, y'all, tell me why she decided to go in on Avatar: The Last Airbender like it's not amazing. And I had to rant about it while we were on live yesterday, but you know, we're gonna talk about it today as well, because I feel like I should give Audra a chance to defend herself. But it was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. Anyway, anyhow,
I said what I said.
And you shouldn't have said it. But shout out to everyone who has shown up for the Melanin Chat. I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you're having a beautiful Tuesday, last Tuesday of March. And yeah.
Oh crap, it is, isn't it?
It is. This year is going by really
fast.
In
March just went like whoosh. March is like the Friday of the year, because it just goes every year. It's like January is the Monday of the year. I don't know what February is yet, but March is like the Friday of the year.
I'm going to assume it's Wednesday. If January is February, and if January is Monday and March is Friday, then by default, February, which is in the middle, would have to be Wednesday.
It's because it's not chronological. It's just the feeling that the month has. And I don't know, February doesn't give me a feeling. I think February is probably like a Sunday. It's just like goes by like that. Like you want Sunday to last, but it doesn't. So I think February is like the Sunday of the year.
Okay, love that logic for all of you who just joined us. So shout out to Benjamin and Z and Bianca and La, who are all in the chats.
See, I have no friends today.
Let's see here. Bianca, see? Avatar: Last Airbender is top tier, and we're gonna have to convince Audra, because we're gonna
because my youngest son has told me that I don't deserve to watch it now because of what I said yesterday. This is what he actually said. He said, "Miss, I have a podcast talking about promoting Black voices and Black books, and yet I slander ATLA." I was like, whatever, man.
I mean, honestly, he has a valid point. Because I'm just like, what? We are out here promoting and talking about good storytelling. Like, we need to be good. And then here you come just being like, no. And then see, the thing is, here's the thing. I'm not even mad that you didn't watch it, Audra. That's not even what I got beef with you about. It's the fact that you decided to come out the gate talking about I ain't never seen it and it's garbage at the same time. And I'm like, how can you say those two things at the same time?
Like a cheap cartoon.
It does
not. I don't like those anime mouths that.
First of all, it's not anime. Please stop calling it anime. It's not anime.
It looks like anime.
No, it doesn't. It is a completely different genre. It is a cartoon. It is American. It's written by American writers for an American audience. It was never Japanese. It's a completely different art style. It's a completely different type of medium.
Feel.
honorary anime, but it's different. It's a cartoon.
You just said it wasn't anime. Now you're saying it's honorary anime.
It's honorary anime.
Make up your mind.
Anime is good storytelling. Therefore, cartoon, pretty much one of the only cartoons that has really good chronological storytelling, because you have to understand that before Avatar: The Last Airbender, cartoons did not have any through line. You have to watch Avatar: The Last Airbender in order. Y'all see how disrespectful she's being? She doesn't even want to hear me. Y'all. I'm upset right now. I am heated. Like, there are so many things that I'm cool with that I'd be like, you know what? That's just Audra. Audra's just being Audra. It's cool. She the homie. I love her. But no, she don't even want to hear me when I'm telling her. Look, you ain't even gotta watch it. Yeah, I ain't say you gotta like it.
I'll leave that for y'all youngins. This is when I remember that Chelsea is the same age group as my children.
I am. Because all of them
most
are
of the time I be thinking Chelsea's my age, but moments like this I remember, oh yeah, she and my oldest son in fact have the same exact birthday. They are literally 1 year apart.
Yep.
And she and my other two are, they're all in their 20s.
Yep.
So
I am for the rest of this year anyway.
And you're all Libras.
See, and
so
top tier. But I'm gonna try to calm down. You don't understand. I was obsessed with Avatar: The Last Airbender. The way I needed to be Katara. I wanted to be a waterbender so bad. And it's just like, literally one of the shows that has some of the best written women of any American medium, and you're just gonna come out here and be like, it's garbage. And I don't like that. It upsets me on a fundamental level.
It's not garbage. Is that better? Can we move on to the books for the...
Can we? Huh?
Nico, I thought I saw you yesterday saying that you were a plebeian like me when my son called me a commoner because I didn't know who Uncle Rilo was.
Uncle Iroh.
I could have sworn you said that you were like in that group with me. Now you saying you like like Avatar.
Ever.
Question, and I need to go back and look at the other chat from yesterday.
I asked why you brought up Uncle Iroh. I didn't ask who he was. Uncle Iroh raised a whole generation. Leaves from the vine. Brave soldier boy comes marching home.
They do not know Uncle Rollo.
Iroh, please, respect on the man's name.
Whatever.
He conquered all of Ba Sing Se. Twice.
All of what?
Ba Sing Se. It's the giant Earth nation, and I can't have this conversation with you. Just tell them about your book. Tell them about your book, Audra.
Listen, okay, so I was very fortunate to get an ARC. I didn't even ask for it. I was very honored to get it from Leslie Penelope, her new book that's coming out June 4th, Daughter of the Merciful Deep. It's really good so far. I've read 52 pages, but I haven't been able to get back to it, but I'm going to try to today. And she just agreed last night. She booked her show. She's coming on May 31st, so the episode will release on the 4th, the same day that the book comes out.
That's exciting.
So, very pretty cover.
It is a gorgeous cover.
It is. It says, a woman journeys into a submerged world of gods and myth to save her home in this powerful historical fantasy that shines a light on the drowned black towns of the American South. Our home began, as all things do, with a wish. Jane Edwards hasn't spoken since she was 11 years old when armed riders expelled her family from their hometown along with every other black resident. Now, 12 years later, she's found a haven in the all-black town of Awanasa. The construction of a dam promises to wash away her home under the waters of the new lake. Jane will do anything to save the community that sheltered her. So when a man with uncanny abilities arrives in town asking strange questions, she wonders if he might be the key. But as the stranger hints at gods and ancestral magic, Jane is captivated by a bigger mystery. She knows this man. Only the last time she saw him, he was dead, his body laid to rest in a rushing river. Who is the stranger, and what is he really doing in Awanasa? To find those answers, Jane will journey into a sunken world, a land of capricious gods and unsung myths, of salvation and dreams made real. But the floodwaters are rising. To gain the miracle she desires, Jane will have to find her voice again and finally face the trauma of the past. And this is her love letter, or her, I want to say love letter, but this is her homage to Black towns in America that have been submerged underwater and turned into lakes and dams and stuff like that. And she actually, if you follow her on Instagram, she just did a really nice video where she talked about one of the towns that is underwater now that was the inspiration for the book. I always love to listen to her processes and the way that she, gets information for her books. So I was really excited when she's like, "Do you want an arc?" I was like, "Yes." So really good so far. Really good so far.
I mean, I believe it. I'm a fan of El Penelope. Although this one, I'm not going to lie, is historical fiction. I realize I'm not a huge fan of historical fiction, just like in general.
I love it.
I love that for you. I also love fantasy, and you're like, can take it or leave it. So
now I did say I like your fantasy books.
True, and I appreciate
you
that.
And Tatiana obey.
OB. Yes.
OB.
But no, like I get you 100%. Like there's some historical fantasy that I like. Can't name it off the top of my head right this second, but there's some out there that I like. But it's still, for me, it's usually like historical fantasy. It's not like pure historical fiction. That just, I don't know, the way that I was raised, I am my father's daughter, and some things just get to me, and I'm like, you know what? I'm reading for fun. I'm doing this in my free time. I don't need to be angry. I feel like the Hulk. I'm always angry. Like, give me some joy, right? So, that being said, that brings me to my choice for today, and it is Entangled by Sullivan. Huh?
Like, Sula, Toni Morrison's book, Sula.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a reader, so I don't always know how to say things out loud. But yes. Oh. And honestly, this one is completely random. I literally found it today when I was like, oh, I need a pick for the Melanin Spotlight. But I was like, it sounds kind of fun, and it's classified as a cozy fantasy Rapunzel retelling. And I was like, okay, that sounds kind of interesting. But basically, it's a retelling of a fairy tale. So it's supposed to be very light-hearted and kind of cute. And yeah. That being said, I don't know anything about this. I ain't read the book. I don't own it. Y'all know this. So this is not a recommendation. This is awareness. Anywho. Description on the back of the book reads, heavy is the hound. Okay, I was about to combine the words for head and crown. Okay, let's try this again. Heavy is the head that grows the crown. Princess Sierra never wanted to be a princess, and now she wants to be queen even less. For the last 5 years, Sierra's life has been a carefully scripted tale of duty and destiny, but she's always felt like the forgotten character in her own story. Banished to her tower by her power-hungry stepfather, she's resigned to her role as figurehead. Cryptic prophecies woven into her hair by the wise women serve as Sierra's only connection to the outside world. When the ruling council decides her stepfather must step down as regent and pave the way for Sierra, a plan is devised that she'll be coronated in name only. For the plan to succeed, everything must go off without a hitch. Enter Sir Gavin, a valiant knight whose unwavering loyalty to the crown is matched only by his relentless pursuit of perfection. Just when he thinks his shining military career is over, he's summoned to the capital and given one final order. His mission? To guard and tutor a spoiled princess into her symbolic coronation. Once that's over, he can finally retire. Gavin envisions a peaceful retirement by the seaside once his ridiculous task is complete. Sierra, on the other hand, sees the impending coronation as the only true way to fulfill her duty to her kingdom. Fate, it seems, has a different plan when Sierra and Gavin find themselves thrown into a reluctant partnership as they prepare for the event. 2 weeks, 2 separate goals, and 2 people from entirely different worlds. What could possibly go wrong? And this book says to note that it's a low spice novella with a guaranteed happily ever after. And considering everything that's going on in the world and, you know, how we kind of have books sometimes that are a little heavy, a little make you mad, a little bit, you know, if I could choke somebody right now, I would consider it heavily. You know, maybe a little joy in life is needed. So, guaranteed happily ever after. Cute little novella. There are links to both of the books down in the description box below, so get into it if you're interested. So yeah. And also, slight reminder that the links will take you to the Melanin Library, your online database of books written by Black authors. So you'll be supporting the library if you get the books through the link on the site. And if you don't want to, you're like, not going to do that, Chelsea. I'm going to go to my local indie bookstore. Cool. We got merch. So check that out too. Anyhow, had to say it to catch your attention.
I do have the mug, and I have the Melanin Library hoodie, the zip-up hoodie, and I have the black, I read about Black girls who are on all that nice green hoodie, and they're all very soft and very warm. And I told one of my good author friends, Stephen Van Patten, I showed him the picture with his name on it, and he bought the mug and was like so touched. He was like really deeply touched. And that made my day, that something that Chelsea did for Black authors made his day. So
I appreciate that. And that's the whole point of the Melanin Library, is just because I feel like there are so many Black authors. Like, obviously, we do the Melanin Chat. You have the Between the Reads podcast. I have the Written in Melanin podcast. And we try to make people aware, like, hey, there are so many Black authors out here, especially ones whose names never really get brought up in conversation, whose books never really get talked about. Because I will say this, at least the books that we bring up on the Melanin Spotlight, it is rare that I see them actually being talked about on like BookTube, Book Talk, book community in general. Like, they might come up in a book haul or whatever, but I rarely see people actually talking about the books and hyping them up and being like, hey, go read this. So it's just kind of like, I'm really glad that with the Melanin Library, I was able to include other people, because it's just like, every time I saw an author be like, oh, my name is on this, it's like, yeah, homie, like, we're all out here doing the thing. And it's just like, there's only about 40 names on the mug, and because it's like limited space, it's still a cup, right? But it's just like, it's kind of nice to be able to be like, yeah, there are lots of names on here that some people don't know, but it's like, well, guess what? Now you can get into it. Now you can find other authors. And I feel like, I hope that people appreciate that, because it's just like, we're out here doing the thing. There's so many of us writing books, and a lot of them are good, because I mean, the storytelling is unmatched. It really is. It really is. But I could be biased, and when I say could be, I absolutely am biased, but left or right. Like I said, the merch is there. You can go to the Melanin Library website. There's the link to the shop is down below. Everything is as reasonably priced as humanly possible, so get into it. But yeah. Ever since I saw the shirt, that being said, I now see how much you say it.
Right? She does. I need to get this shirt for her, because that's her thing.
So, I mean, I'm not going to apologize. It's just one of those
you
things.
You don't apologize. It's your thing. It's your thing. Because, like, my thing is, on my podcast, I say exactly, and I say... I think I say exactly, and I say, yeah. And somebody makes a point like, yeah, exactly. That's like my... We all have our little things.
We do. And mine used to be like, and it still is when I get kind of heated. But when I was in high school, my friend was like, you know, you say like a lot, right? And I was like,
Yeah,
do I? Do I? And then I became hyper aware of it. And... I was just like, I don't know. I feel like you're making that up.
But you just said it twice.
Exactly. Exactly. And she was like, I don't think you're aware. You just said it again. But yeah, and I can't do anything about it. But when I got to college, I had to do a lot more like public speaking, and I had to take a class on public speaking because, you know.
Said it again. That's 4.
She's gonna be clocking me now, isn't she?
Yep.
I hate it. This is why I don't be talking to Audra, you guys. This is why she be so antagonistic, like so antagonistic for no reason.
But make it an even 6.
I'm a yeet
Because
off the
we
channel,
can.
you guys. It is just going to be me. It's just going to
Is
be
that
me.
word? My youngest son uses that word yeet all the time. What is that? Even.
Yeet.
I'm so old.
You just yeet it. Like,
Eat. Why not just say throw it away or kick off the... Why yeet? Never mind. Don't answer.
In my mind, when you yeet something, I think of that. Okay, so there's a very specific GIF set in my mind. And it's the one where Rafiki is holding Simba up on top of the rock, right? But instead of like going like how the movie does, the GIF is just like he throws back and he just yeets him over the over the rock. And I'm just like, that's what yeeting is. Yeet! You know, it's just that's how I hear it in my head, right? I don't know. Yeah.
I thought it was GIFs. It's GIFs?
GIF, whatever makes you happy.
I think it's GIF because GIF is peanut butter. Oh, okay, never mind. It's GIF. Go ahead. I'm not trying to get no more smoke from Chelsea today. Go ahead.
I can't. I can't. But yeah. It's just, I don't know. It's a sound effect, Audra, that became a word and it has its own meaning. I don't make the rules of the language. We just roll with them. When I was studying language, I thought it was kind of interesting because most of the slang and stuff that people use, like it comes from specifically teenagers, and then it kind of filters out into like the general population or whatever. And I'm like, I'm not one of them anymore, so I don't know. The only slang that really got me was when I was in college, and the first time I heard someone be like, "Wow, he blew me," and I was just like, "He did what to you?
What? Excuse me?
He did what?" And my friend was just like, "Yeah, like I was blown. Like he blew me," and I was just like, "I don't think that means what you think it means."
You could say he blew my mind.
But it was a whole thing. And she was
I was blown away.
And she was like, y'all don't say that in North Carolina? And I was like, not that I'm aware of, but I'm not popular, so I don't know. Maybe I'm behind the times. I don't know. It's amazing, honestly. Because I'm just like, I feel like I've always been that person to be like, yeah, and then I'll quietly just go ask one of my friends and probably like, what does this word mean? Is this how we use it in context? Is this what we're doing now? And then we go back to the regular conversation. But that's just me, and that's how my brain works. But don't get me to lying. That's why I don't use slang in my books, because I'm just like, I don't know. I'm not cool enough to make up words, you guys.
Your own slang.
Yeah.
Make up your own.
Okay. Excuse me.
My nose is running.
Also, shout out to Jay Monet and Jocelyn. I don't think I said hello to you guys in the chat, and Vina is here as well. Hello, good morning. Also, want to let you guys know that there is a Q&A in the chat, so if there's anything specific that you want us to talk about, let us know. Oh, we have a couple questions. So, did you know there's a weird romance subgenre called Christian dark romance? What is that?
I just hit.
Huh?
I just hit something and I don't know what I did.
Ooh, she breaking stuff. That's what she get for not liking Avatar.
I'm just trying to not. I hope I'm not messing up your thing.
You're not doing nothing over here. So, what is Christian dark romance?
Probably romance that's Christian with dark elements to it, like murder or something. I can't see you. That's annoying.
What? Aren't you on Discord? I can see you.
Yes, but I only see myself. I hit something and I don't know what I hit.
Oh, you
I'm
probably
scared
hit
to hit
something
any.
at the top. You probably click the little focus button at the top. Click it again.
I don't know what the focus button is.
It's at the very top. I can't do it for you.
There we go.
There we go.
She talking about I can't do it for you. I did not ask you to do it for me, ma'am. I was just trying to figure out where it was.
I was just trying to help you. I was trying to figure out what you did.
I got Discord. Like that.
I mean, look, I'm a millennial, man. I was just trying to figure out what you clicked. I can help you unclick it. See, this is the thing about helping older adults, you guys, as a millennial. They be thinking that you can just do anything and everything.
Now
And
we
then
are
you're
calling
like,
me an older adult. All right, Chelsea.
I'm just saying.
Okay.
You ain't never seen Avatar: Last
That's
Airbender.
fine.
If I said long, long ago the four nations lived together in harmony, I promise you, there's an entire generation of people who know what the next line is. Then everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked. Only the Avatar, master of all four elements, could stop them. But when the world needed him most, he vanished. 100 years passed, and my brother and I discovered the new Avatar, an airbender named Aang. And although his airbending skills are great, he has a lot to learn before he's ready to save anyone. But I believe Aang can save the world. And then you have the intro music, and then, anyway, I'm not over it. I'm sorry. Anyway, we have moved on from Avatar, and we are going to continue to move on. But how do you have Christian dark romance? I don't understand how, you know what? I was going to say something, but then as I was saying it, I was like, actually, that kind of tracks, honestly. Because I was going to be like, how are you going to be reading the Bible and also like choking somebody out in the same breath? Like, are you going to be choking them and, and quoting Leviticus to them at the same time? Like, is that a thing? And I'm like, you know what? Let me not put it past people, because they would. They would.
Okay, I'm done.
I just... and I'm... I'm sorry. I'm like, dark romance. I'm like, so what? Like, it's just a dark romance, but the author makes note that there's a cross above the bed. Is that what we're going for? Like, how does this work? Why? What audience is this appealing to? Because it's not appealing to the people who like to read dark romance. And
Bianca said it's a twisted Song of Solomon.
I mean, I don't know. Because Jocelyn is making a good point. It's Christian and dark romance sounds very contradictory. Like, those are two completely different audiences. Audra has lost it. She's checked out. And I'm looking at the comments, and apparently we are all confused. Dark romance ain't godly. One of these things does not go with the others. Yeah. And so, is it just one account? Because if so, I need to know the name of this book. Also, William is here. Hello, welcome. We are not normally like this. This is just taking a turn. Anyway, apparently yeah, everyone is busted again. I honestly don't know, you guys. I'm so confused. I don't know why anyone would try to. Audra's still losing it. I don't know anything about dark romance, though, so who knows? Okay, so I'm not a fan of dark romance, but as far as I know, dark romance is supposed to be like exploring the more problematic aspects of, being in a relationship. She's gonna fall out of this closet. Oh my God. I can't even be serious. I can't even hear her, but I can't even take it seriously. Okay, yes. Find the name of the book and let us know, because I need to do some research now. They made up the genre for controversy. Honestly, I feel like people are making up a bunch of genres. Just like, oh, I'm going to call my book this thing because I want to, and I'm going to make it a thing. I feel like everyone's trying to be the pioneer of a resurgence of a genre. But I don't know. I feel like you really have to be pushing boundaries. But the thing is, traditional publishing isn't really pushing boundaries like that. So it's kind of hard. And she is really over here dying. I'm gonna need her to get it together. Her name is Felicity, not Felicity with an F, but Felicity with a V. All right, that's cool. People need to stop making up genres and use some of the existing ones. Honestly, what's crazy? It's always the people who hate genre who make up a genre. Here's the thing. It's so wild to me because it's like, why not just be like, oh, it's multiple genres? Why make up a completely new one altogether? That's the thing that I don't understand. It's just kind of like, if it's fantasy, like, can we just not call cozy fantasy like low stakes fantasy? I don't know. I feel like that already existed. Why do we have to give it a new name? And I'm trying to be serious and keep the conversation going, but Audra is so distracting. I'm scared to try dark romance. All the book boyfriends torture, and yeah, honestly, I don't know what the appeal of dark romance is. I have never gotten into one that I was just like, yeah, this sounds so great. I love this book boyfriend. I'm like, I don't know. He just like assaulted you, bruh. That may be something you might want to consider. Maybe seek some therapy about why this is appealing. I don't know. Somebody threatening you isn't necessarily something I would put in a romance. Maybe we should stop calling it romance. It's like dark relationships, toxic relationships. That's what we should call it. Toxic relationship books, not dark romance. Toxic relationships. Call it what it is.
Bianca, I no longer like you because my stomach and my sides hurt from laughing so hard. I literally had to put my mic on mute because I was out of breath.
Clearly. You had like a solid 3 minutes of...
Because that caught me so off guard. Twisted Song of Solomon.
And here we go again.
You tried having to do
And she's gone. Okay. They make up new genres based off of trends and aesthetics. And I'm still trying to figure out what low stakes is in fantasy. Okay, I mean, honestly, the only reason I kind of get it now is because I actually read Legends and Lattes or whatever, Lattes and Legends, whatever, whichever order it goes in. And it was the whole book is literally just about an orc opening up a coffee shop in a region where there is no coffee. And it's just like, okay, the stakes are whether or not the shop succeeds or not, but there is no going off on missions. There's no going off on an adventure. Like, the whole thing is pretty much very like, the worst thing that can happen is the coffee shop doesn't exist anymore. So it's very, very low stakes. It's not like, oh, your life is on the line. You're going to be murdered. Someone's hunting you down. There's an angry god that you have to go satisfy. You have to go off on this epic adventure, or you have to fight something, or you have to like find your way in society. It's none of that. It's literally like, hey, do you want a latte? Like, that's literally the premise of the entire book, but doing it in orc style, you know? So it's just kind of like, I get that. And honestly, I after reading it, I understand why people like it. Because it's just like, oh, this is fun. I can just pick this up. I can read it. I can put it down. I'm not anxious when I read it, you know? So I'm not mad about the stories existing. I'm just kind of like, okay, we're calling it cozy fantasy, but I'm like, it's low stakes. That's all. That's it. I'm reading an alleged cozy fantasy, but it has kidnapping. See, the thing is, my issue is that when we make up these new genres, people don't adhere to what they are, and they just start throwing everything into the genre and swelling it to the point where it could have just been the original genre to begin with. It could have just been fantasy. Because cozy fantasy, specifically, to me, has to be something where it's just like, it's very light and it's very fun. It's very much like, I don't say wholesome, But the only way I can think about it really is like anime, because anime is one of the few things where things actually adhere to genres. So when I think cozy fantasy, I really think like, oh, this is like your wholesome anime. This is like where nothing really bad actually happens. And if someone's going to be attacked, it's like, you know, for a fact that nothing's going to come of it. No one's actually going to get hurt. People are just going to be a little on edge to add a little bit of suspension to the plot. You know, it's not like, oh, is this character actually going to die? Is the author going to get rid of this person? None of that. None of that. Are you ready to rejoin us, Audra?
I guess. Don't make me laugh again. Yeah. But, you know, I think people writing, giving genres different names is just a lazy way to try and get around the rules of a genre to me.
Yeah. I was looking at the comment that Vina put in here talking about how Legends and Lattes is the only book they name because it's sounds slice of life, but that's exactly what it is. It's literally just a slice of life fantasy, and I think the reason why it's not okay. This is my hot take. My
I don't even know what slice of life is, so I'm lost.
Slice of life is literally what it sounds like, where you just look at one aspect of a person's life, and it's not like big adventure. It's just like, hey, I'm going to look in a window and see what this person is doing at this one era of their life. So slice of life for you might have been like, oh, when I'm building up the podcast, right? So I can't. Audra's so unserious.
Hey, what does that mean? Is it cozy then the it monster comes out of the garden?
Wait, what?
Y'all off the hook with these comments today.
I can't. Cozy horror doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't.
Because horror has to have really high stakes by nature. It's literally life or death.
Exactly.
That's what makes it horror. There's nothing cozy about life or death. Unless you're talking about, hey, we're just running a haunted house. Like, no one ever actually gets hurt, but they think they are. And I'm just like, people, I don't know. But that's what I was saying. But like, I feel like my unpopular opinion is that people see someone do something and they do it successfully, and they're like, oh, I want to do that, and I want to capitalize off of what this other person has done, but I don't want to do what they did. And it's just kind of like, but this doesn't make any sense anymore. Like, you've completely lost the plot. Like, you've taken this thing that was essentially like a fantasy romance, right? And now you're calling it a cozy fantasy, but why? Like, this is not slice of life. This is just a straight up romance with fantasy creatures. That's not a cozy fantasy. That's a fantasy romance. And there was already a genre for that. We don't need to call it romantasy. It's a fantasy romance. I don't understand what the names are for. It just makes it confusing. And I feel like people are like, oh, well, I want to find my audience. And I'm like, you realize that by making something new, you're making it far more difficult for the audience that's actually looking for what you write to find you, right?
Yeah, I feel like people are just trying to be trailblazers, and it's like, you don't need to blaze trails when there's already a trail made. Just write your book in that genre and make it stand out.
Here's the thing.
You know.
Growing up, I don't know if this is offensive. If it is, I apologize. It's just something that I heard a lot growing up, right? But it was just like, you know, everybody wants to be chiefs and no one wants to be Indians, right? And it's just kind of like, everybody can't be in charge. Everybody can't be making the decisions. Everybody
wants to be a chef, or what is it? Everybody wants to be a chef. Everybody wants to be head chef in the kitchen. Oh, I can't. My brain is scrambled for today.
Don't get me to lying. It's just, the thing is, it only works as, you can only be a trailblazer as far as people are willing to follow you. And it's just kind of like, I feel like everybody's like, oh, this line is shorter, so let me fall in line over here. But it's just like, it doesn't matter if you're going in the wrong direction. Like, I don't know. I'm thinking specifically of a book that's coming out that I'm just like, and we've talked about it in the chat, and I'm just like, I don't know if this is actually something that people want. And I feel like a lot of books that are coming out that are being like heavily pushed, at least, that are coming across the timeline, are books that I'm like, who asked for this? Who wants this? Who told you this was a good idea? Like, I don't know. I'm kind of getting exhausted with the books that are being presented. Like, hey, look at this. And I'm like, look at this. Okay, what else we got? Like, I feel like we're getting to the point, I don't know if this analogy makes any sense, but you know that feeling when you're in the house and you're hungry and you're like, I would literally rather starve than eat anything that is currently in this house. I feel like that's how I'm feeling with the book industry, where it's just like, I would literally rather just not read at all than read anything that you guys are pushing towards me. And I don't know, I feel like that's such a negative thing to say. But at the same time, there are very few books that have gotten me like, oh, this was great. I'm so glad that I read books and I enjoy this, you know?
Listen, before I started this podcast, I told you I used to just go to the library and pick whatever's on the shelf. Other than romance, everything to me was fiction. There were no genres for me. It was just this. What genre is this? Fiction. That was my genre. My genres were fiction and nonfiction.
I'm dead. It's crazy because a lot of people don't even know what fiction means anymore, which is wild to me.
That is wild because, I mean, you know, when library, we had fiction, nonfiction, but it was never, and I don't know, I guess because growing up, there wasn't, like, the library, it was fiction section, nonfiction section. There was no, like, here's your romance and here's your fantasy. Like, the library wasn't separated out like that. So over time, my mind just never adjusted. And when I started doing this podcast and, reading different books, and I was like, oh, wait, there's fantasy. I mean, to me, the only things that had existed in my mind, if I had to break it out, there was romance and there was horror. Mm-hmm. There was nothing in between for me. And sci-fi, I guess, because my brother, read Star Wars and Star Trek, but I didn't, genres was something, especially all the subgenres of everything, was not something I became aware of until I started really getting into the book community.
No, that makes sense, because even now I'm still like, what are y'all doing? Like, when romantasy was a thing, I will probably always think about this one TikTok video of this girl who was like, kind of what Vina brought up, like, there's a difference between a fantasy romance and a romantic fantasy. And I'm like, you literally just said the same words twice. You literally just said the same words twice. And she tried to like break it down and be like, well, one is a romance in a fantasy setting, but the other one is a fantasy with romantic elements. And I'm like, what? You just said the same thing twice. Like, you have created no delineation of anything. And it was just so confusing, and I feel like people keep trying to like push that, but kind of like Vina said, they're just buzzwords. Because I'm like, a fantasy with romantic elements or a romance that has fantasy characters, I don't know, that's insane to me, because it's like, do you put the macaroni in the cheese, or do you add cheese to your macaroni? It's still mac and cheese, bruh. Like, call it whatever you want. I don't care what order you put them in together. It's the same thing. And so it's really interesting to kind of watch people try to put those together. But then the whole, like Jay Monet said, the whole cozy horror thing, it's just like, this is like you saying, hey, I have some sweet potato pie. Let me throw some sardines into it. Like, why would you do that? Those two things don't ever need to be together. Like,
unless you're pregnant and you just have a weird craving that don't make sense.
In which case, someone who loves you should still probably prevent you from eating that. Like, at no point should you be eating fish and pie at the same time, specifically baked together.
Or if you're going to do it, don't do it in front of me, please. Like, keep that to yourself.
In private. Do it with shame. The utmost amount of shame. Okay? Like, don't do that here. Right? And so I don't understand.
And do it with the utmost amount of shame.
I mean, I don't understand how, because I feel like by default, people are taking away elements that make these things good, and they're watering things down that don't need to be watered down. And it's just kind of like, no, horror is scary. There's nothing cute, fluffy, and warm about horror. If it doesn't scare me, you're not doing a good job. You probably shouldn't say you're writing a horror. Maybe call it something else. But if I'm not like, I don't know if I want to read this at 2:00 in the morning when it's dark outside and I am the only one awake. Maybe I should wait until the daytime, when the sun's out and people are awake to hear me scream and nothing is popping up out of the shadows. If your book doesn't make me feel like that, maybe not call it a horror. Maybe, I don't know. I can't make it up. Call it something else though. Call it something else. I just, if authors spend half the amount of time they spend on contrived marketing and making up new genres on actually improving their craft, we would have a lot more good books. Wow. Ben said that. That was not my personal thought, but there's a reason I married this man, because we honestly are on the same page. Because I think it's interesting how many people focus on marketing their books a certain way. And I've said this before, I will say this again. The way that people market their books, I'm not saying it's wrong, because like, get it out there. You need you need readers, you got to put butts in seats, as they say, right? But at the same time, I feel like the way people market their books they don't realize how it could backfire. Because I'm like, the things that you're saying right now, I feel like you're telling me that, hey, I've got sweet potato pie and cake. Like, look at this new bakery I'm opening up. And I'm like, oh, you got a new bakery? What do you sell? What kind of pie do you have? And you're like, sweet potato pie and sardines. And then I also have some mackerel and apple pie over here. And I'm like, oh, okay. I love that you're opening a new bakery. I hope it's successful and you find your audience. But what you're telling me right now does not sound like anything I would ever want or anything that I would ever tell anyone to go get for themselves. And it's just kind of like, no. But, you could have, in the time that you spent putting together this very slapdash bakery, you could have just, I don't know, come up with better recipes. And, I don't know, wrote a better book. Is that bad to say that I just want better books? I feel like that's...
No, that's the whole point. Books are supposed to be something that... Books, to me, have two purposes. You either read them for education, or you read them for escape.
Yep.
And if you're reading for them for escape, they should so totally immerse... I know when a book is good for me... Because when I'm reading it, I literally don't hear anything around me. The world slips away, and a movie starts to play in my head.
Mm-hmm.
When that happens, I know a book is good. Like, that already happened with the first 52 pages of this book. I was like, okay, yeah, this book is going to be good.
And see, for me, I'm like, I need to forget that I'm reading, right? I just need to be going. And it's the movie aspect, but... I don't know. It's like when I start reading, I'm actively aware. It's like, okay, I'm going to sit down to read, right? And then I start reading. If I don't get to a point where I'm like, oh, I'm not reading anymore. Like, I'm still reading, but I'm not thinking about reading. I'm just like, turn the next page. Let's go. Let's find out what happens next. If I never get to that point and I'm like, oh, I'm reading, like, ooh, I'm doing the activity of reading. Like, if I feel like I'm stuck in second grade and I have to do, drop everything and read time before we go to recess, and there's like the new playground is being unveiled and the sandbox has finally been fixed, and we've got extra time today because the 5th graders are on a field trip, and so we got their recess time too. It is back to back. I don't care nothing about this book, bro. I am literally just sitting here trying to get outside. I am biding my time. If I have to, I don't want to feel like that in my personal time as an adult, because this is also my recess at this point. So I'm like, no, right. I'm gonna need you to be better. And it's like that feeling I get, and I don't know if anybody else is like this, because I like to eat. It is who I am, right? If I go to a restaurant and it's been hyped up and I'm like, oh, it looks all nice and stuff, but then I go in and the waiter's like, we'll be with you in a minute. And then I'm like standing there for 5 minutes. I'll be like, okay, look now. wait a second. Okay, but wait a second. It looks nice. We've got positive reviews. We're going to go in. We're going to have a good time. And then you sit down and the service sucks and the food is not good and they give you small portions and it's expensive. That's how I be feeling when I'm reading a book that I'm not enjoying, because I'm like, wait a second. You had a really pretty cover and you had really good marketing, but your voice sucks. There's a bunch of mistakes in here. You're really inconsistent with your character voice, and I can tell that this character's only doing this because of plot, and this is supposed to be very self-insert. And if I could pick your book apart like that, I'm like, why am I here? Why am I here? Who was supposed to enjoy this? And I feel like there are a specific set of authors that completely forget that they're writing books for people to enjoy. Like, it's not for you. Artists don't create art to look at for themselves. If that was the case, you could just like paint your walls in your own house and nobody would never need to see it. But when you start making things for other people, you have to remember you're making things for other people, for them to enjoy. Like, yes, enjoy your art, enjoy your craft. But at the end of the day, if you're trying to make money off of this, if you're trying to sell it to somebody else needs to like it besides you and your mom. Just throwing that out there. Anywho, I'm going to leave that where it's at. Also, shout out to Deja who came in. Hope you're doing well.
Hi, Deja.
What was I gonna say? I was trying to read the chat, but I got lost. Or every book you pick up has the same plot. Can we talk about this for a second, Bianca? Every book having the same plot points. And Audra, I don't know, because I tend to lean towards fantasy. That's what I like to read. That's what I like to go for. Do you feel like you've been picking up books that are basically all the same book with a different cover, essentially?
No, and I think that's probably because the books that I have been reading have been indie authors.
Fair.
And so, that's pretty much what I've been reading for the show. Let me think. I've had 3 books on? Yeah, only one of my books so far this year, I think, was an indie author. And that's the episode that I posted yesterday. And that was a nonfiction book. Gardens of Eden, I read. I think that was my first show of the year. And then Portia,
Mm-hmm.
2 Black indie authors. So I can't. And Gardens of Eden was good. But I can't say that even looking at the books I read last year that it had the same plot points. Even the traditional ones that I read. I don't know.
Okay. That's good. That's good. I'm glad. I feel like, I don't know. I feel like YA, specifically YA fantasy, has been a lot of the same regurgitated ideas. I don't know.
But, I mean, isn't that all books though? It's just you really only have so many ideas out there. But it's just you have to have your spin on it. And right? I think like all movies, it's the same thing too, right?
But I think that's what's missing, though, at least from the books that I have come across, is where the uniqueness of it doesn't, either it doesn't work, or it's just kind of like, I don't know how to put it other than it's like you're trying too hard. Because here's the thing. I'm the type of person where it's like, if I like something, as long as it's something different, I'm good with it. Like, right now, Ben and I are watching a bunch of villainess anime. And it's just kind of like, okay, there are certain aspects of this that are going to be the same because it is a specific trope. It is a specific type of story, right? You're going to have a girl she's going to know how she dies. And the whole anime is going to be about her trying to avoid certain death, right? Cool. Those are that's a given, right? But how you do it, how you go about it is what I'm here for. I'm here for the journey. But I feel like with a lot of books that I have been trying to get into, I've been like, oh, I'm going to pick it up. I want to get into this. It's just been kind of like either the writing isn't nearly as strong as it needs to be to actually pull someone into a story, or the beginning is really strong, but it tapers off really quickly. Like in the first 10 to 20 pages, it's like it completely falls apart under any real inspection. And I don't know who put it in the chat, but also the whole idea of like pushing a book for its diversity it's just like, oh, it's queer or it's black or it's this, and it's like, cool, but what else you got? Thank you for
Hmm.
telling me that the sweet potato pie has sweet potatoes and a crust and sugar. I appreciate that. But is it good? Did you put these things together the way that they should be? Or are you out here just selling some runny pie that would probably be better on toast? What are we doing? I don't know. I'm
And
actually
I think a lot of it too is traditional publishing, because they have these rules that if you're, if you're in this genre, you must have this, and this. And while I get that you keep that as your template, like your kind of rules to follow, you don't have to follow them so tightly that it's like you can predict what's gonna happen. Like, you stay within the confines of the genre, but allow the writer to
breathe.
actually have a story, because I guarantee you a lot of these books, before they went to an editor, probably had a better storyline. But when the editor went to go work on it, they took out everything that made the story unique just so that you could have this formulaic book. And that's why all these books feel the same. Like, learn how to edit without making it formulaic. Keep the grammatical stuff, keep the mechanics of how a story should work there, but let every author have their own voice. And I think that's what traditional publishing doesn't do. And that's why I probably like indie books better, because indie books that are well written, the story is there, the author's voice comes through. They stick to the mechanics of writing the book, but they're allowed to, like you said, they're allowed to breathe.
Can I throw out an unpopular opinion? I'm going to go out on a limb and say that it's not, I wouldn't even say it's the editors. I feel like the authors that are making it through to publishing are the ones whose writing is already formulaic, where it's already like, it's not pushing the boundaries, and that's why they got in the first place. And I feel like that is what's being pushed as, oh, see, it can be done. And I'm not saying that's everyone. I'm not saying that that's every book that I've ever read or that's actually the case. But from the outside looking in, if I had to make conjecture based off of what I have seen and the type of books that I've experienced and the conversations that I've had with other authors, I feel like, maybe feel like isn't the right word, I have suspicion that the writing itself isn't what has changed once they get into traditional publishing. Because the thing is, I feel like, and this sucks, but maybe, how do I put this nicely? In music, I don't know if you guys feel this way, but in music, I feel like a lot of artists, their debut album is usually one of their best albums, because it's when it's pure creativity, it's pure grind, it's pure desire, it's pure like, I'm doing this because I want to do this. It is not, okay, I'm now a cog in the machine, I have to keep going, I have to maintain, I have to do X, Y, and Z, right? It's like, I just want to do this. So their first work is usually one of their better works, right? And then, you stick with them as they go, and either they have a career or they don't, right? I feel like with books, it's a lot of the same thing. But the unfortunate reality of it is, a lot of authors' first books are not their best works. But then they continue to try to go on and have a career. And it's like, you didn't lock me down as a fan with your first book. There is no way I'm going to read your second one. The skill wasn't present. I'm not going to say it wasn't. I'm not going to say it's not there. I'm not going to say it's not possessed. I'm going to say it was not shown in the first book. Like, I feel like first books, debuts, should be the book where you go all out, where you're pushing boundaries, where you're writing characters that you really want to write, where you're pushing back. Because here's the thing. I feel like, at least within publishing, there's this kind of idea that, like, oh, once you get your foot in the door, then once you get comfortable, once you've made some money, then you can start pushing back against your editor. Then you can start doing yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, but no one's going to read your next book if your first one is not good. You're not going to have another chance to write another book if your first one doesn't do what it's supposed to do. And one of my biggest pet peeves is when authors are like, I'm writing this for the people like me. And by like me, they're talking about black people, right? And then you get into the book and you're very like immediately like, you're like, you wrote this outside the house. You wrote this for everyone who's outside the house because this is not for us. This is not for me. This is not who? What kind of upbringing did you have? Because I feel like this is pandering on a different level. And it's just like, not saying you don't have skill. I'm not saying you don't have talent. I'm not saying you don't have to play the game. Like, I get, as an adult, I get it. Make your money, get your bag. This economy, bruh, I would write what they want me to write too, okay? But at the same time, it feels kind of like a scam as a reader and as a consumer. Like, why are we here, bruh? Why are we doing this? You know? But I digress. Let's see here. I blame COVID time. It made people slack and many editors lost their jobs. Here's the thing, you guys, and this is also unpopular opinion, but COVID meant that you had to be home, which means as a writer, you got a lot more time, assuming that you were not ill or dealing with ill family. Like, obviously it's a pandemic. There are very real repercussions to that. But if we're talking purely from a writing standpoint, it's like you had the most time to write the best thing that you could possibly have come up with in that time. Mm-hmm. You are unlikely to ever get a time when everybody is home and everything is catering to you not leaving your house. Got to seize an opportunity when it arrives, even when it's ill, or even when it arrives in terrible predicaments. But I don't think that's an excuse to be like, oh, that's why my writing sucks. Because honestly, people were like, oh, this is the pandemic book. And I'm like, first of all, still in one. Hope you're still masking up when you go out. But also, it's like, what does that mean? I think the only thing that the only book that I've seen that kind of handles it well is, I read recently We Deserve Monuments by Jazz Hammonds. And in it, the characters talk about the fact that they had their high school disrupted. Like, that is now a reality for an entire generation of, there are things that they did not get to experience in high school because of the pandemic. How they fundamentally see and experience high school and college in their fundamental years is different than everyone who did it before them. Prom wasn't a thing. Being in crowded hallways wasn't a thing. You know, lockers, lunchrooms, all of that, like senior skip day or whatever you want to call it. All those things were completely different because they were remote. Even having those interpersonal relationships were not the same. So it's just kind of like, that handled it well, but short of being like, oh, pandemic book, I don't know what you want me to tell you as far as like writing. Because I'm like, you stop it. I'm going to stop there. But I'm going to finish this off by saying what Vina said. Some folks need to work on their craft. And I feel like there are a lot of people who need to work on their craft because you can always get better. And that being what it is now after 11 o'clock. So we are going to go ahead and migrate on over to the after chat, which is the chat after the chat. So feel free to get into it. If you want to sign up, there's a link in the description box below written Patreon. Sign up, support the site, support the Melanin Library, support the channel, do all the things and get access to all the exclusives, right? But yeah. That's it. I was going to say something else and give y'all time to do that, but $5 gets you in. We'll be over there. Thank you guys for joining us for the Melanin Chat. We will be back not next week, but the week after, as long as Audra says she's going to show up, and hopefully.
I think that's the week of the 6th, and remember, I'll be gone.
Okay. So
for the eclipse. So, I mean, it's your show. You're free to, of course, do it without me, but I will be in Indiana watching the eclipse.
She said, I'm not going to be here, but that doesn't mean that's not a show.
I did give you fair warning.
You did. I did.
So. Yeah, wait, let me see. So, yeah, because we're not here the 2nd. And then, yeah, I'll be in Indiana. I'll be actually on the way back, but yeah, so I won't be here.
I got you. So, either way, that was just a segue to tell you guys to subscribe to the channel and turn notifications so you don't miss when we go live again. So do that, like the stream if you haven't, and we will catch you in
Between the Reads has a new episode that dropped yesterday. It dropped early.
Yes, so. And also make sure you subscribe to the podcast because Rants and Rambles is also a thing. So, all right, you guys, thank you so much for being here. And until next time, I hope your days are lovely and your books are interesting. Bye.